All right. Did not have a super great day today. It's evening. Forgot to film this morning, but the reason why I forgot to film was because I did some updates on my laptop, and Opal wasn't running because of those updates, and got sidetracked with a YouTube rabbit hole, which I think YouTube is like just the same for me as TikTok or any other infinite scrolling app. Like once you get started, and I think this is how it is for anything. Once you get started on something that is going to be releasing a lot of dopamine, or I don't know if that's the correct scientific way to think about it, but once you're doing something that is a more addictive personality or has like an addictive attribute to it, um, it, it kind of messes up your flow for at least the day, if not in general. It makes it easier to slip back into it. Whether you call it a dopamine thing or needing a dopamine detox, or just it's a habit. I don't really think it matters how you think of it. Just knowing that, like, if you do it once, it's more likely to do it again in the same day. And if you do it multiple times a day throughout a week, and multiple days during a week, then you're more likely to do it the next week and the next days. And anyway, it's all just a pattern. So whatever pattern you establish for yourself, you're gonna do it. Anyway, for me, if I let myself get down that rabbit hole in the morning, whether that's YouTube or researching something that doesn't really matter or whatever it is, if I start that pattern of being unproductive during the day, or in the morning, if I start that pattern of being unproductive, then kind of the rest of the day is not shot, but it's much harder to get back on track. And I either need reset time, as in like time away from the desk, time to reset from how I understand it, reset my dopamine levels, or yeah, like the amount of dopamine that I can discharge into my brain. And this is just how I understand it, so it's probably, don't come at me in the comments. This is probably a really simplified way of looking at it, but from what I understand, I've done a decent amount of research on this. Is you've got a certain amount of dopamine that you're able to dump into your brain every night when you go to sleep. That kind of gets like replenished, and it's highest in the morning. So if you the analogy I've heard of, like, it's like squeezing water off a sponge. In the morning, you just have to squeeze a little bit and you get dopamine out. So you can be doing something that's not super interesting, but you still get dopamine. I think that's why it's so easy, or people, not all people, but in general, people find it easier to work out in the morning than in the evening. There's some dopamine released during a workout. Obviously, it's not as much as like gaming or scrolling or other things that would release more dopamine than that, but it's still a decent amount. So, yeah, anyway, in the morning, you've got more water to squeeze out of that sponge. But if you do a high dopamine activity like scrolling Instagram and you squeeze that sponge, which would squeeze it like really hard because squeeze out a bunch of dopamine, it makes it really hard to get out more dopamine during the day, and so you have this whole like a dopamine depletion. I don't know how true that is, and I'm sure you can train yourself to continue to squeeze or to wring it out harder. I don't know what the analogy probably starts breaking down at this point. But I think Jocko Willink and kind of other people in that type of sphere, David Goggins, that sort of stuff, call it toxic or not, I don't really care. If it gets the job done, then it's probably not really toxic, right? Like, if it gets the job done and you're making progress towards your goals and it's better in your life, is it really like toxic, so to speak, to push aside other parts of your life? Like, you're always having to make compromises of, I'm prioritizing my sleep and I'm not going to be going out with friends as much. Like, okay, your social life is taking a hit. Does that mean that it's a toxic viewpoint to follow someone's line of thinking just because it only benefits one part of your life? Like, tomato tomato. I would beg to say no, it's not toxic, but if you want to think that it is, be my guest. Anyway, back to the point I was trying to make. In the morning, I find when I go down whatever rabbit hole, when I'm not being focused, it's much easier for me to continue to stay in focus throughout the day, unless I have some sort of like pattern interruption, some sort of recharge time. Usually that involves no screens, no stimulus, so no podcast, no music, and that can either be like cleaning or going outside or I don't know, whatever, something like that. Basically, time for my brain to just process, think, run its course. I don't have to meditate, but just kind of let it do its thing. So, spent 5 minutes rambling on that. Basically, Opal did not get started up when my laptop got restarted, and so I got stuck down a YouTube rabbit hole, and yeah, I spent way too long on that. I did change this to be open at login, so even if I restart my computer next time, that won't be a problem. So that's good. That won't happen again. Trying to think what else. I guess the whole reason for like blocking stuff, like there are definitely ways for me to get around this, but it's harder. So my last blocker that I had was Chrome extension, but it was too easy for me. I was too much in the habit of just going in and turning it off real quick. This one not so much. I can't just like turn it off. It's gotta during the session it won't allow me to quit the app to stop it from running. So little not safety. I can't think of the word. Little things like that to really like force you to be stuck in with not being able to do your thing. In this case, access YouTube, and that just forces me to be bored basically. And eventually, you're going to be bored enough that you're going to do the thing that you know you need to do. So, excuse me. That's the idea. Just make myself super bored. Don't allow me to do anything, and eventually I'll be bored enough to do my work, which honestly doesn't take that long. Usually it's like 10 minutes tops before I'm like, all right, let's get down to work. So, that was my soapbox. I'll get off that now. I did that. Let's see here. I did not get around to most of these because I wasted a ton of time and then just had to work. In fact, I don't think I did like anything other than the Disney stuff and texting. Yeah, great. So I will need to do some catch up tomorrow. Just double checking that okay, yeah. And then go through my inbox, make sure I don't have anything here that I need to go do. So, see you guys tomorrow.